ready to dive into an unflattering comparison as we explore the similarities between John Doyle, the right-winger who tries to emulate the coolness of Nick Fuentes but consistently falls short, and Yamcha from Dragon Ball, the perennial underdog who can never quite measure up. I'm your host, Mitsuri, and in today's video, we'll look at how both Doyle and Yamcha share a knack for trying hard but ultimately missing the mark. Strap in, because this one's going to be a bit of a rough ride. Number 10. Crybaby Tendencies. John Doyle's inability to move past a joke made by Nick Fuentes about hoping he died in a car crash shows his crybaby tendencies. This is similar to Yamcha from Dragon Ball, who often whines about his misfortunes instead of toughening up. Yamcha's constant sulking after being outclassed in battles mirrors Doyle's emotional reactions. Both Doyle and Yamcha struggle to let go of minor grievances, which holds them back from being taken seriously. Just as Yamcha's complaints make him a joke among the Z-fighters, Doyle's sensitivity makes him less respected in his own circles. Here's the clip where Nick roasted him for it.
It was like Doyle's, like the other day, John Doyle's, he was tweeting, he was so butthurt. It's so delicious. So yummy. The butthurt is so freaking yummy. He's on Twitter and he's like, yeah, sure. Everybody hate on John Doyle for having a reasonable take. That was like his tweet. He was literally like, yeah, sure. Everyone hates on me because I just said this. And somebody replied to him and they're like, why can't we all just get along? And he goes, well, that's just because 2 years ago, somebody showed me a text where Nick Fuentes said that he hoped I died in a car crash, and that would be really funny when I was defending him like a fucking asshole. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Number 9. Poor sense of humor. John Doyle often struggles with humor, coming across as awkward or forced. This is much like Yamcha, who is unintentionally funny due to his constant failures, like when he lost quickly to a Cyberman. Both try to be serious, but end up being the punchline. Their attempts at humor usually backfire, making them seem out of touch. While others excel in their fields, Doyle and Yamcha's failures in comedy only highlight their weaknesses. Here's a clip where Nick explained this best.
The war on Halloween is real, folks, and it's right here. It's right in front of us, but it's okay. I will not let you down. The spirit of Robert E. Lee appeared to me in a vision after he was released from the statue before ascending into heaven.
This is just bad. This is just bad. This is just bad writing. Whenever you have to create these very intricate imaginary scenarios that go on and on like this is just very juvenile, very, very low level, like low IQ. It's very low order of comedy. This is like a 8-year-old that says, and then what if like it was a giraffe? It's like, and then what if this, what if that? Like, it's very low order comedy. What if something silly happened? It's sort of like, what if something silly happened? What if a very elaborate, silly thing happened? It's very low order. Low IQ humor. It's fucking dog shit. This content's dog shit, dude. We're 1 minute in and I want to just not watch this anymore. I want to not watch it.
Here.
Number 8. Avoidance of tough topics. John Doyle avoids discussing Israeli influence in American politics, likely out of fear of losing support or donations. Yamcha, too, tends to shy away from major battles, preferring to stay on the sidelines when the stakes are high. This avoidance shows a lack of courage in both. Their hesitance to confront difficult issues or challenges leaves them lagging behind their peers who aren't afraid to tackle the tough stuff. Just as Yamcha's reluctance keeps him from being a true warrior, Doyle's avoidance of certain topics limits his influence. Number 7. Unimportance in the big picture. John Doyle's influence pales in comparison to figures like Nick Fuentes, making him seem unimportant in the grand scheme of things. Similarly, Yamcha becomes less relevant as Dragon Ball progresses, with stronger characters taking the spotlight while he fades into the background. Both Doyle and Yamcha are overshadowed by more prominent figures in their respective worlds. Their lack of impact makes them forgettable, with Doyle's unimportance being highlighted in moments like when Nick roasted him for being insignificant.
I just love that Doyle goes anywhere and they always want to talk about me. Anywhere Doyle goes, he gets asked about me. What do you think of Nick Fuentes? I go somewhere, nobody's ever asked me about John Doyle. And he goes on Alex Stein. So the elephant in the room, what do you think about Nick Fuentes and the Groypers? He goes on Adam King. So what do you think about Nick Fuentes? He goes on whatever podcast. You're just like a Nick Fuentes clone. I am the #1 most influential Generation Z right-wing commentator in the United States of America, and I have been for the last 4 years. No curly-headed bitch is going to come for that title because he made a couple of YouTube videos about jerking off. I'm fucking him. Not I'm fucking him. I mean, I'm him. I'm him. And I've been him for a minute. But, he wants to come for the throne. Here's Mel. I have some YouTube videos. I made a YouTube video about masturbating. Yeah, okay. And, bitch. And I'm the #1 anti-Semite in America for like 1,000 years.
Number 6. Strange and off-putting content. John Doyle's videos, especially those covering strange topics like jerking off, are off-putting and weird. This odd content is comparable to Yamcha's awkward and sometimes cringeworthy attempts to stay relevant. Like when he tries to compete in the World Martial Arts Tournament despite being outmatched. Their weirdness doesn't win them any favors and only makes them look more out of place. While others are pushing forward with meaningful content or powerful battles, Doyle and Yamcha's odd choices only add to their downfall. Number 5. Refusal to address key issues. John Doyle refuses to discuss who controls Hollywood and why there is hatred towards white people, likely because it's too controversial for him. Yamcha also avoids confronting difficult situations, often choosing to sit out of major battles where he could make a difference. Their refusal to step up and address key issues reflects a lack of courage. Doyle's unwillingness to take on these topics shows his reluctance to truly challenge the status quo. And of course, Nick called him out over that, which you can see in this clip.
So John Doyle, who I hate, and I have sort of a beef with him, he's been totally silent on Israel-Palestine for like 5 weeks. But when this story came out, he came out on firing on all cylinders. This is anti-white. They hate you. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you ignorant wigger. That's all these pussies can do is beat their chest and say, I'm white. And you literally earned the moniker wigger. Because when it's an actually tough battle, like Holocaust or Hitler or Jews running the media or Zionism controlling and capturing our government, nowhere to be found. That's a little too complicated. That one's a little too dicey. That's a little tough. But there's an easy layup when we get to say, white people are under attack. They hate you. Who hates us? Who hates us, John? Who hates us? Who hates us?
Number 4. Repeatedly getting ratioed. John Doyle has been repeatedly ratioed by Nick Fuentes on Twitter, showing that people prefer Nick's takes over his. Yamcha, too, often finds himself on the losing end of fights, getting defeated easily by more powerful opponents. Both Doyle and Yamcha's repeated failures highlight their lower status. The fact that Doyle gets ratioed so often only cements his position as less impactful and weaker compared to Nick. It's a clear sign of who the audience respects more. Number 3. Stuck in the past. John Doyle seems stuck in the talking points of 2016, unable to evolve his worldview to adapt to the current political climate. Yamcha, too, is stuck in the past, unable to keep up with the rapidly increasing power levels of his fellow Z fighters. Their inability to grow and change leaves them both behind as others move forward. Doyle's stagnant approach makes him less relevant in today's more radical right-wing environment, just as Yamcha's lack of growth makes him irrelevant in the later Dragon Ball series. Number 2. Lame aesthetics. John Doyle's show and website, Heck Off Kami, have a lame aesthetic and a stupid name. This contrasts sharply with the cool and modern aesthetics of Nick Fuentes' America First show. Yamcha, too, is known for his outdated and unimpressive look, never quite fitting in with the more stylish characters in Dragon Ball. Their poor aesthetics make them look out of touch and unappealing. While Nick's show attracts viewers with its sleek design, Doyle's dated style makes him seem out of place. Just as Yamcha's old school look makes him seem like a relic from another era. Number 1, a lesser figure. John Doyle is a lesser figure in the American right wing, someone who people used to care a little about but don't anymore. This is much like Yamcha, who was once an important character in early Dragon Ball but became irrelevant as the series progressed and other characters got stronger. Both Doyle and Yamcha started with potential, but quickly faded into obscurity due to their inability to keep up. Doyle's declining influence mirrors Yamcha's fall from grace, making them both examples of characters who couldn't stay relevant in a rapidly changing world. As we wrap up this comparison between John Doyle and Yamcha, we hope you've seen how even the most determined efforts can sometimes fall short. Remember, not everyone can be the hero, but there's always something to learn from their journey. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep striving for greatness, even if you stumble along the way. See ya!